Hey there, I'm making this video to talk about something specific that some of you may be interested in, others may not. So I'll start it off talking about something that I know that most of you will be interested in. I went ahead and I made that mock-up I was talking about in the last video, and I posted just a demonstration video of this on Instagram without talking about it. But I had a couple of interesting comments on that. The very first comment was a guy said that it's a very common way to do it, way to make quick release vices. And I've never seen this before. And so I questioned him. I answered him back, asking if he had an example to show me. And then he came back and he said he saw a couple of small Reed is a manufacturer, Reed vices that use this mechanism. And then I went and I searched Google. I couldn't find any examples. So I guess it's not as common as he says it is. Like, I tried building it here with the idea in mind that it would work with the clamp vise that I was talking about before. But I'm thinking that this would work for a real, like twin screw vise. And the big advantage is like how quickly it is to adjust. You just lift up on the moving jaw slightly so that it clears the nuts, and then set it back down in, and then you tighten it up. And I had another comment from Luke asking if this could possibly loosen up, from chiseling on wood or pounding on it. And I really don't see that happening. Here's the physics of it. I'll pull out the other thing for it. Okay, so the way this works is you clamp the stock in here. This pushes this jaw this way, and in doing so, it pushes it downwards. And along with, in this particular one, it clamps the nuts tighter up here inside. But in this one here, what it would do is it would push this rod down like that, making a connection even tighter between these nuts. And the only way that it could possibly slip is if the rod tilted back upwards so that it could skip out of the tooth, or if the rod bent in this very short area right here. Like, I experimented with this when I was doing the mock-up, and I determined that 3/4 of an inch is a good distance to keep them apart. It gives you, you can tilt it up like less than 10 degrees and it'll slide through. And I think that the distance between the nuts is enough to prevent any kind of skipping once you clamp the load in. All right, so onward to what I'll say is the main topic of the video. And it starts back in, I can't recall if it's the end of July or maybe the end of August that I have to file my HST for the company. And you have to be Canadian to understand. I don't know, there's HST in other countries of the world, but here it's a tax that used to be the GST, and what G stands for is goods, and what S stands for is services. So this is a sneaky little tax they introduced back in the 90s, I think it was, to tax services as well. They saw a huge potential there because I'm sure they looked at Europe as an example where they were doing something similar, and they said, this is a revenue stream that we really have to tap into. So they created this sneaky tax. And at first it was going to be temporary, they said, but you know how that works. Nothing as far as tax goes is ever temporary, at least not in reality. They might say they ended something, but it's buried somewhere else. It always is. They never drop the amount of tax that they're taking in. Anyway, so being a business in Canada, making over a certain amount, you have to have a HST number, and you have to file HST returns, I guess they're called. And mine was back in July or August, I can't recall. Probably July. And because most of my income is from outside of Canada, and is not subject to HST, it resulted in a refund. So I sent that in. I didn't send it in. My accountant sent it in. And the only reason why I have an accountant in the first place is because of taxes. I mean, if I didn't have to pay or calculate taxes, I wouldn't have an accountant because everything would be very straightforward. And you really wouldn't have to worry about messing things up because, you couldn't be in trouble with anybody. So anyway, it was sent off and sitting there for a couple months, and it was odd because I hadn't heard anything back. Like I hadn't gotten a notice of assessment that you usually get after this, saying the thing went through and the refund was sent to my account. And I contacted my accountant, asked what was going on, and she said, all we can do is wait and see. Maybe they're extra busy or something. They haven't gotten to it yet. But I had a bad feeling about it. And I got a phone call, but I missed because I was out here doing something. My cell phone was in the house. I don't bring my cell phone out here. So the call went to my accountant, and the call was from the Canada Revenue Agency, which I call the Canada Robbery Agency. And it was about that return, and they wanted to have a closer look. And what they mean by a closer look is they've got a whole list of things that they want from you on the back here. And the letter goes on to say that under subsection 288, whatever, of the Act, officers of the CRA are authorized to inspect, audit, and examine your records. During the examination, the CRA will closely review your books and records to confirm whether you are fulfilling your obligations, applying tax laws correctly, and receiving any refunds to which you are entitled. Okay, so this is October 31st. My accountant worked for a week solid, getting all this stuff together. And even though she gave me a discount because a lot of this stuff, okay, let me back up a little bit here. One of the problems is with my business is that it's non-traditional. Okay, I've been self-employed since 1999 actually. And like a construction contracting business is very traditional. They can see everything. You send invoices to your customers, you get payments back, everything's like that. But this here, where the source of income is outside of the country, can be problematic. It took my accountant a week, like a solid week working, to get everything together that they demanded here. And it wound up costing me somewhere around $3,000, even though she gave me a discount of about $1,500. So, accountants don't work for nothing. And, I'm glad to pay them as long as it gets me out of this. But that's the problem. And this is what I was saying to my accountant. Even though you did all this and got everything together, and I did nothing wrong, like I've done nothing wrong, and sent that into them, there's still no guarantee that I will come away unscathed because you're leaving your fate in the hands of these people that really don't understand any of this stuff. So months pass, like October 31st, December 31st, I'm losing sleep over this shit. I mean, if you've gotten a letter like this from your tax authority, you're not feeling good about things, are you? Like, I would ask people what their top things to not want to get a letter about. And this would be top of the list for a lot of people. We're waiting. I'm losing sleep. It's causing me a lot of stress. It's actually affecting my production here. I'm extra sore about having to shell out $3,000 for extra work to get all this shit together for them for something that I think that they're not even entitled to anyway. But anyway, they call my accountant a few days ago, actually, and they say that it went through and everything is good. And they sent out the letter to me, and I got this like a day or two ago, confirming that. Okay, so that sounds like it's all aces, right? No, no, it's not all aces. That could have very well gone the other way. And what recourse would I have other than, okay, you got two choices. You can either pay it, whatever they're asking for, or you can engage a lawyer and pay him probably 3 or 4 times as much. And I'm the type of person that is kind of, I don't know, I don't like being ripped off. I don't like being screwed over. So I will basically bankrupt myself to fight this kind of thing. So it's very fortunate that it swung this way. The other thing that I was thinking about, because I've been thinking about this off and on for the past 2 or 3 years, is just leaving. Like whatever the results of this thing was, to set in motion my movement out of this country altogether and go to a country where this kind of thing doesn't happen. I mean, there are a couple of those. The one I was looking at was the Cayman Islands. You can go there. They especially want businesses that are based on the internet, like internet-based businesses. You can go there, set up your business. They'll streamline everything for you to go there with the visa, the whole thing. It would have cost me money, but maybe a year's worth of tax that I'm paying here. So after a year down there, I would be, that would be paid for basically. I mean, this is the situation that it is here with this, especially for small business. I mean, small business is the low-hanging fruit for these criminals here, this legalized criminal organization right here that steals money from the public. They attack, and I say attack because it's quite aggressive these days, and it's become more aggressive since they updated all of their computer systems to look for shit like this. And like I said, you have no recourse other than to pay it, which would probably be the cheapest way, or to try to fight it. And they realize this. They know that individuals working for a company, not worth it, generally, because the company usually makes sure that everybody is paying exactly what they're supposed to be paying. Small businesses, there's some space there for them to move in. Big businesses, they don't bother with, because the big businesses, they do everything by the book, first of all, and any kind of shenanigans they're up to, if they do get caught up on it, they can afford to hire the lawyers, they probably already have them on staff, to fight this till doomsday if necessary. The small business is the one that they zone in on. So yeah, I did work out, and I'm thankful for that. It's almost like you're a kid and you're walking down the street, and there are some bullies on the other side of the street that normally kick the shit out of you, and somehow this day they didn't see you. Now, I know a lot of you are not going to understand this because like the vast majority of people in this country and the United States, they work for someone, so they don't have to worry about this kind of thing. But if you own a small business, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I mean, you live in fear of this kind of a letter coming in your mail about your business where the government wants to examine your books. And it's not like you can just take everything and throw it in a box and Purolator it, or UPS it, if you're in the States, of course, to them and say, here, have a look. No, 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 no. You send that to them like that, they'll say unacceptable, and they'll make a judgment. And they'll probably not only, disallow your refund, they'll probably give you a bunch of penalties as well. So I talked about buying a house before and fixing it up and flipping it. And this kind of thing right here really makes me think twice about doing that kind of thing. Because if I get too entrenched here, then it makes it harder for me to leave. And leaving is what a lot of the businesses are going to wind up doing here as they get more and more aggressive with this tax strategy targeting guys like me who have a small business. Small businesses are what's called the backbone of any country's economy. And if your objective is to make it harder for that sector of your economy to actually function properly or function freely, then you're ruining your economy. It's not big, huge companies that drive economies. It's the small businesses. It's the corner store. It's like there are thousands in my area alone. And this is what makes for a thriving economy.
Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.